Storage of energy is a technology that's coming into its own, be it to drive mobile phones for longer or for large-scale industrial uses. In a new development, redT, formerly Camco, says that the world is moving towards a smart, grid-connected storage market. Scott McGregor is redT's chief executive. He joins us now. Scott, welcome.
Hi, Jeremy.
First of all, I think it is the right thing to do to explain exactly where you sit in this market and what you're bringing to this new era of storage of electricity or storage of power.
Sure. So in the energy storage market, there's two types of energy storage when we talk commonly about batteries. First type is conventional batteries, which would be lead acid or lithium, and that's where you store power and energy in a cell. And those are great, and technologies are fantastic. They're mature, they're getting cheaper, better. However, by storing power and energy in a cell, you naturally will degrade. You're trying to manage electricity running around a cell. New flow batteries, which have been tabled for 40 years to come to market, separate power and energy. So you have a cell where you charge and discharge into tanks of liquid, and in that liquid you store energy permanently. So you can turn those systems off after when you finish using them, turn them back on 20 years later, they're fully charged. The liquid doesn't deteriorate. So it's a completely different form of storing energy, which is good for long duration. So the conventional batteries are great for our cars, our phones, housing, domestic storage, but when you're getting to large domestic storage, commercial, grid, off-grid, it's all around storing in liquid.
Which is what you're involved in.
Yes.
Explain, you're at the forefront of this. Explain what it is you're doing and how you're building a business around this.
So it's quite a difficult technology to bring to market. So we've been working on it for 15 years, as have a number of other companies. The core technology is around the stack. So the stack or the cell where we charge power in and out and taking liquid across that. So we have a number of patents. It's around a 5 kilowatt stack. And we proved that stack in 2012, as did a couple of other players. Since then, we've stayed very quiet. We haven't done any marketing, or very little, and we've spent the last 3 or 4 years getting the price of the product down, because in our view, there was no use taking this to market until the cost price was right. So in the last year, we've delivered our Generation 1 product from our manufacturer. We've sold out of that, and we're delivering our Generation 2 product in the second half of this year, and that will be at the target commercial price, which customers want. There's no question around the demand. It's about getting the technology right and making it at the right price.
And at the moment, this is for commercial use, isn't it? It's not for domestic use at all.
Not for domestic. The smallest system would be a 5 kilowatt, 20 kilowatt hour system, so maybe a large farmhouse. But this is not a sort of a Tesla garage system. You're better off using cheap throwaway batteries than if an industrial machine is something you want to use heavily every day. That's where conventional batteries don't work.
And are you able just to continue to grow the units to make more and more power and more storage power? I mean, if it's a large facility, you're just able to up the...
Yeah, so we sell the system, and part of the design the last few years is modularising it. So it's in a small container or a 20-foot container. So the smallest system is 5 kilowatt, 20 kilowatt hour. Larger systems, we can go up to 10 megawatt, 50 megawatt hour. That's the sort of range in terms of storage.
And whereabouts around the world are you marketing these now as viable business opportunities?
Yeah. So we're taking a very conservative approach to going to market. With new technology, you need to be very careful, so we're taking this very slowly. And we're deploying them in Africa, Europe and the UK, which is where we have sites at the moment and offices. So we want to be close to the deployment.
You quite often hear in some parts of Africa where there is a big deficiency of energy, but not so much here in the UK. Yes, we have heard recently that the power's at extremes and we're at risk of falling over at times. But we don't really have a major problem here. There's a big difference, isn't there, between this sort of economy and an African economy?
Yeah. So there's two very clear markets for energy storage. One is off-grid, and one is on-grid, which is what you're talking about. Off-grid, you produce power using diesel generators, and typically that will cost between 50 cents and $1 per kilowatt hour. What's happened with flow batteries coming online now, we can add solar at 10 cents, a flow battery for 10 or 20 cents, so you can produce power for around 20 cents per kilowatt hour versus 50 cents to $1. So it revolutionises the African energy market. And flow batteries will be successful there. I hope we're the company that bring it to Africa. On-grid is a completely different proposition. So that's around a smart grid-connected market where you have centralised generation, gas, nuclear, and you have decentralised, which would be renewables. And you need storage all the way along that journey. And so you'll have small storage at end of line, so you can plug-in electric vehicles, you can use that renewables as firm power and then centralise the balance across the grid. The market for that is around $150 billion, which was quoted by Goldman Allen's recently, and on the off-grid is around $60 billion. These markets will come online as the price of storage goes down and down.
How have you got to where you are now? Because clearly this is there's a lot of research and development into this. It costs a lot of money. What is your balance sheet looking like at the moment, and where are you going to go? Because presumably you're going to have to raise money at some point into a market at the moment which is looking a little fragile.
Yeah, so we've taken this very slowly over 15 years, so we've got a fantastic team of technical people and design people. So we've really only last year changed the name of the public company to redT. We sold off all our other assets. We did a small capital raise at the start of the year, around 10% of stock. So that's given us cash to the end of next year, assuming 0 sales. That's good runway at a technology company at our stage. We have 4 million euros operating costs, so we're in good financial shape. We will do a capital raise at some stage, but we want to do that on the back of an expansion raise. I think it's better for the industry and ourselves to do this slowly and gradually, deliver each step, and if we can get our Generation 2 product out and make sales, we'll be number one in the flow battery market.
You mentioned euros. Do you report in euros?
We report in euros at the moment, yeah.
So how has the recent vote to the UK's referendum on the European Union affected your business? I mean, you're listed here in London.
Yes.
How do you view that? Is that an opportunity, or is that something you're a little bit wary of?
So the first impact is our production costs are in pounds. So we manufacture in Scotland. A majority of our costs are in pounds. So as an export commodity, the pound dropping is a good thing for us and for our customers, bringing a cheaper product, which is what it's all about in energy storage. You drop $100 per kilowatt hour, you open up more of the market. So that's good. On the flip side, in the UK itself, with Brexit, you'll probably see a rise of energy prices, and that will drive more requirement for energy storage in the UK, which at the moment is quite a marginal marketplace for energy storage.
Shares last year were between 4 and 6 pence. They're between 7 and 10 so far this year, and I think they've topped out at 11 pence. What do you say to investors about this opportunity?
To investors, I would say we're a very determined company, and we're going to take this very slowly. Energy storage hasn't had a great success with new technologies because they've been rushed to market too quickly. So we should be judged on our delivery of each step in the business plan. And I think we're doing incredibly well what we've achieved this year. So we want to finish those Gen 1, Gen 2, get our sales going, get the product out, and do this in a very gradual ramp.
So where do you go from here? And what's in the bag for the next year or so? I mean, in terms of the way in which the company further evolves.
So we're very clear, and our message to investors and our team and our customers are very clear, is settle down the first Generation 1 products. It's very important and a huge milestone for us to have a manufacturer, not us, make our product, which really hasn't been done successfully before outside of lead or lithium as a new technology. We're doing very well at that. We want to take our time, get the rest of those systems out. We build our Generation 2 product, which is being built now, and deliver that to market in the second half of this year, and then get our initial unit sales on the back of that product, even though Generation 1 has been sold out. So that's the clear focus for now. If we achieve that, we'll be at the forefront of flow batteries globally, and then we scale.
Yeah, and do you see yourself in the sights of a larger player, like, for example, GE, for example? I'm just thinking of the really big industrial players. Yeah. I mean, if you're at the front end of a technology that's developing at this sort of rate, do you see ultimately that's going to happen? Do you have an exit strategy, or do you want to continue as an independent company?
I think we can look at a lot of strategic alternatives. However, and I've done a lot of that with prior companies, and the team have. However, right now we need to focus on delivering. Yeah. If we deliver, all those options are on the table. So that will be the interesting part. But outside of lead and lithium, as conventional technologies, no one's broken through. So we're very determined, Aussies and our English team, to break through and make this a success, and then everything is on the table.
Well, we look forward to hearing more about this exciting new developments. But Scott, in the meantime, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jeremy.
That is Scott McGregor. He is redT's chief executive in a business at the front end of new technology.